Hey, everybody, and good afternoon. Welcome to day 18 of the Supernatural Weight Loss Challenge. It's day 18, everybody. Like, that means it's the 18th of July. I say this every day, probably since the first day. I can't believe that we're already here, already like, woo, this is it. So, I wanted to talk about a few things. The title of today, or the theme that I know God gave me, okay, was really about freedom from bondage, making sure that we are doing everything in our power to remain free, to remain mentally free, free in our bodies, and absolutely free in our spirits. So day 18, when I was doing my research, when I was looking it up, when I was trying to see what this day would represent, it really it represents bondage. Day or the number 18 represents bondage in a biblical sense. Um, there is a story in the Bible when Jesus heals a woman who had the spirit of infirmity or was bent over. She was bent over for 18 years, right? What level of bondage is that you're bent over for 18 years? Can't look up, can't really do anything. What job can you work? What social life can you have? What romantic life can you have? What dreams, goals, ambitions, visions, and all of that can you accomplish if you're bent over, right? So being bent over, being unable to look up and see ourselves or see the road ahead of us or greet people or just have a clear view of the path in front of us, that will stop us and keep us in bondage. That is bondage for sure. So just wanted to make sure that we are aware of the things that might be trying to keep us in bondage, right? So we've talked about the power of our no and the power of our words and all that. And just making sure that in this challenge, we are doing every single thing that we can to remain absolutely free, to remain not in bondage. It's so imperative, so important that we make sure that we're not doing things that could ultimately keep us in chains, manacles, shackles, handcuffs, behind the bars. We want to be living and operating in free spaces. How do we do that? We make sure that we have the accountability partners. I mean, I can't stress that enough. There's no better freedom or liberty than being around a group of people. It doesn't have to be a large group, a whole entourage. It could be two or three people. If you're not comfortable making new friends, or if you're not comfortable with trusting people or being vulnerable with people, have about two or three people who you know want the best for you, like authentically. I'm not talking about some shady frenemy kind of thing, because that's going around as well. People are congratulating you and saying, "Oh, you're doing great, you're doing awesome," but in their hearts is jealousy, envy, and them wanting your downfall. That's a reality that I definitely want to acknowledge, because when we're aware of certain things, then we know what to look out for. It's really important that we have people in our corner who are authentically there for us, who want to see us rise to the top, who want to see us be free, whole, healthy, healed, all that, right? Authentically and genuinely, right? It's so important for us to be around those people, and we stay free and remain free. We get free, we stay free, we remain free by being around people who celebrate our freedom and want us to do things that are going to keep us free. So in order to remain out of bondage, or to see what that means, you know, it's really important to know the things that could keep us in bondage, right? So if we want to look into freer spaces, let's look at some of the mental things that could keep us in bondage, that could keep us boxed up, or just in a very limiting behavior, right? Our thoughts are the number one thing that really keep us in bondage, keep us locked down, locked out, stopping us from getting all type of opportunities, walking through open doors. It is so important that we are making sure that we are not allowing thoughts in our head that keep us in bondage. Physically, we want to make sure that we are not doing things to our body, right, that are keeping us in bondage. Bondage of what? Being unhealthy. As I was discussing in previous days, healthiness looks different for everybody. Some people look healthy when they're super, super thin and skinny. Some still have a little bit of weight on them, but their vital signs show that they're healthy, right? Their heart rate is good. The no hypertension, no diabetes, all this is low, blood pressure low, but they're not as skinny as some other people. Healthiness looks different to everybody, and so we have to find and discover the different ways that we can be healthy. and make sure that we're not doing things that are keeping us in bondage of being unhealthy. Starting with our food choices, starting with what we put in our bodies, what we do, how we interact with our bodies, right? Who we let around us, who we let touch us. I mean, everything comes into play. That we have to be careful that we're not creating physical bondage with people, that we're not being kept in cages and connected to people that we really should be being freed from. I think earlier this week or last week, I talked about the Lord laying his axe to the root of a lot of things. If he's cutting us free from bondage, we dare not go back to bondage. We dare not entangle ourselves with the things that God has freed us from. So it's really important for us to be aware and to be sure that we are not doing things, right, that keep us in bondage, that we are not the weapon that is prospering against us. I heard that the other day. We don't want to be the weapon that prospers against us, right? We can see the weapons form, but the Bible promises that no weapon will prosper against us, right? No weapon formed will prosper against us. So we'll see it being created, we'll see the arrow being drawn, but the weapon that is fired, that is shot, that is targeted at us will not prosper. We don't want to be the weapon that prospers against us. I'm going to say that again. We don't want to be the weapon that prospers against us, that keeps us in bondage, entangled in all manners of just being locked up and locked in, right? That's how we make sure that we're not keeping ourselves in bondage with our physical body. We talked about the mental state, making sure our thoughts aren't debilitating or something that's going to stop us, right? That we're not in a negative vortex of thoughts from our family, from our generations, from our bloodlines. It doesn't matter how your mom thinks. It doesn't matter how your dad thinks. It doesn't matter how your cousin or your Aunt Nene, whoever is thinking negatively in your family, you have the choice in this challenge to choose a different path, right? You're knocking yourself off the path of your family that you might not want to go down. And you have the opportunity to say, I want to do something different. So let me go ahead and do it, right? When you're doing a challenge, it makes you be aware and reflective. I've been so weepy during the challenge. It's bringing up so much stuff that I needed to come up. If I want to be in healthy relationships, any type of relationship, romantic, platonic, me being a sister, me being a daughter, if I want to be in a healthy relationship across the board, there's stuff that got to come up out of me. So the challenge acts like, your two thumbs pushing on a pimple. Yeah, it's painful. Yeah, it's hurt. But when that pus comes out, then your face can, or wherever the pimple is, can kind of close up and heal and go back to a smooth way. But as long as that pus is in there, it's aggravated, right? Ooh, it's infected, it's inflamed. Some of the stuff has to come out so that we can be free and not in bondage and spiritual bondage. My gosh, we're talking about the demonic activity that happens. Sometimes we know we're engaging in it, and sometimes we don't. When we get closer to God, as we're getting closer to God, He will warn us. He will let us know that He is not in something, that we're about to be entangled in something that we have no preparedness for. That if we are engaging in spiritual things without the Holy Spirit, without the leading of God, then we are really getting ourselves into bondage. What passageways and spiritual doors and portals have we opened ourselves up to that keep us locked down and locked in bondage? It's time to close every secret passageway, every back door that's been tunneled and burrowed by things we didn't know. We thought we were touching one thing and we opened up 10 different things of unknown places on ourselves. During this challenge, during this day, we're saying no to bondage. Nothing will keep us bound anymore. For anyone who's been in prison, right? For anyone who's had their freedom taken away from them, you know what it means to be in bondage. You know what it means to be free, right? And even if you haven't been in prison or incarcerated, if you've been in sin, and everybody has been, if you've been in some stuff, that's bondage. See, the world will tell us that following God is bondage and that living in sin is free. No, following God is freedom and liberty. Living in sin is bondage. Doing your own thing, not following after the precepts and the will of God, that is bondage, and there's no sanity there. That's bondage. And we want to make sure we're free from bondage. There is a pathway to freedom. And day 18 represents bondage, but for us, it represents our freedom from the things that have bound us. I mean, the things that have been on us for years. We just see them dropping off. We believe, God, we have faith that they are dropping off, that we can walk away from them, that they will no longer hold us down, that we're free and we're light enough to go ahead and just fly and soar, not with our baggage and our bondage holding us down or blocking us up anymore. This is a day of freedom, and I hope you feel that. I hope that even before this live, you were just feeling super free in your body and not even knowing why, because we're tapping into day 18. I also hope that you were able to move your body today, that you were able to run, jump, swim, do whatever. I've been doing some really good toning core exercises, like just stretching, doing some core work. Great. It's a struggle. It's a challenge. I'm like, oh, I'm done. Oh, I'm gonna do another few minutes and I'm gonna be done. By the end of the video, I have finished, and there's nothing more rewarding than seeing at the end of the video, congratulations, you finished. It's tough, it's difficult. But here's the challenge. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our bodies. I pray that you got your Selah. Oh, I got it early this morning after prayer. Just sitting and reflecting, not doing anything, not on the phone, not watching TV, in silence if you want, with soaking music or worship music if you want. Your body deserves it. You deserve it. And I pray that you were able to get some good nutritional food in your body today, that you decreased your sugar and your carbs and increased your water intake. We are looking forward to August 1st because we're going to be looking better in our entire being because we've dropped the supernatural weight. And what did we replace it with? Wisdom. So make sure that you're still reading your proverb for the day. I heard a proverb a day keeps the devil away. You know that saying, like an apple a day keeps the dentist away? Well, a proverb a day keeps the devil away. I heard that when I was a little girl, and it stuck with me. If we're reading about wisdom, if we're filling ourselves up with wisdom, then it's very hard for the enemy to creep in and sneak in. And there's so much wisdom in Proverbs. What did you learn? What did you experience? Take time to reflect. If you want to journal about it, go right ahead. I cannot wait to debrief and do a check-in at the end of this challenge just to see what God was talking to us about, what concepts or precepts or ideas did he give us through this challenge that will carry us on to the rest of our life. We know on day 8, we talked about the eternal blessing. So that's where we are. This challenge is starting a mindset and a lifestyle in us that is going to continue throughout eternity. I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm so happy that we're able to do this challenge together. I love you, love you, love you. And I will see you tomorrow for day 19. That means it's July 19th. Come on, let's keep pushing. Let's keep doing it. We are over halfway done. We can finish strong. I will see you tomorrow, God's willing. Selah.